Welcome back to InstaPhippsyFishing. I just bought my first boat ever. I'm super excited about it, and it's looking beautiful. I'm going to be installing a floor and a casting deck. So if you stay tuned, you're going to get to see the whole process of the build. Going to kind of go through a step-by-step tutorial. I'm no expert. I'm not even that handy of a guy. But I've been watching boat builds for a few months now, watched a ton of YouTube videos, done a ton of my own research, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be something to keep me busy until I can get out on the water in a couple more weeks. So this is a Marlon SP14. It's a 14-foot John boat. One of the reasons I got it is it's a bit wider than most other John boats. It has a 64-inch beam width, and the floor is 55 inches wide. So it's going to add a lot more stability, so I'm going to be a lot safer out on the water there. But I'd like to thank Advanced Marine in Lake Belwood for hooking me up with the boat and trailer. A guy named Jake really helped me out there. Their customer service was awesome. So I just picked this up a couple days ago, and I'm going to be starting working on it today. I've grabbed a bunch of supplies over the last couple days. So actually the first thing that I'm going to be doing before starting anything is doing a water test. So I'm actually going to be filling the boat with a garden hose, and I'm just going to be looking for any leaks or cracks because I want to find that out before I've installed any flooring or anything like that. Because once the floor is in and it's all screwed down, if there's a leak, it's going to be a lot harder to get to. So the very first step of a boat build is going to be a leak test. So I'm just going to fill it up with a garden hose, wait a few minutes, see if any leaks come out. If not, I'm just going to drain it, and then we can go on to the next step. So step number one is a water leak test. Okay, I let the boat fill up with a couple inches of water, and then I just did a walk around just to make sure that there's no leaks anywhere. The floor is still dry, so that's a good sign. So basically what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take the drain plug out. I'm gonna put a rain barrel there to catch all the water and drain it. And now that I know that it's airtight, watertight, and it's not gonna take on water, I can start the build project. So let's see how it goes. So I just finished draining the boat after my leak test. Luckily there were no leaks. I filled the boat with water using the garden hose. I had the boat plug in, and then once it was up maybe 4 or 5 inches into the boat, I took out the boat plug and I let all the water drain out into a big rain barrel, and then I just dumped that water onto the driveway to give the driveway a quick free clean. So yeah, the leak test went good. Luckily there were no leaks. And I'm really excited to have my first ever boat. I've always had access to a boat. My dad had one and my grandpa had one, but I've never owned one myself where I could just do anything that I wanted to it. The boat I was using last year in my videos, it was just a 14-foot V-hull aluminum boat. It's probably been in the family for like 30, 40 years, something like that. And I put a little 2-foot by 3-foot floor into it just so I could stand, because the bottom of a V-hull, first of all, it's a V and there's all these ribs, so it's uncomfortable for the feet. So I don't have a ton of experience woodworking or installing flooring or decking or anything like that. My 2 big projects last year were putting in that tiny little 2-foot by 3-foot square area in my V-hull boat for me to stand on. And then my dad and I rebuilt our family dock. But other than that, don't have a ton of experience woodworking or using big power tools and stuff like that. And I am very excited to have my own boat, something that I can do whatever I want with and fully customize to my liking. So I'm gonna be putting a subfloor between the back bench seat and the middle bench seat so that that's nice and flat and I can walk on that. I'm gonna put another subfloor between the middle bench seat and the bow of the boat. And then I'm gonna be building a deck between the second bench seat all the way to the front, the very front of the boat. So it's gonna be about a 7 or 8 foot long casting deck. So I'm pretty excited for the final result. I don't know if this is gonna take me a couple days or a couple weeks. I don't really have a timeline in mind. That way I'm not rushed to get it done. But Pike and walleye opens on May 15th, so I'm hoping I have it done well before then so I can get out on the water for opening day and hopefully get into some fish. Today is day 2 of working on my John boat. Today I'm going to start off by measuring everything. So I'm putting styrofoam down on the bottom of the boat in between the ribs. There's 3 sections between the back bench and the middle bench that have ribs. So I'm going to be putting 3 sections of styrofoam, and then between the middle bench and the front bench, there's also 3 sections with ribs. So I'm going to be measuring the insides of all those and cutting some styrofoam. So I'm going to measure a bunch of times to make sure I have it perfectly accurate. I'm going to draw out a little diagram as well, just from the back to the front, just so I know, which direction I'm going in. And then I'm going to be measuring as well for the plywood. So I'm going to be putting plywood directly on top of the styrofoam and the aluminum ribs. So that should be more than enough support. The ribs are only like 13 inches apart. So I'm just adding the styrofoam there for some extra stability, and also it's always good to have styrofoam in the boat, if heaven forbid anything happened, because it works towards the reserve buoyancy. Today I'm going to be measuring, I'm going to be cutting the styrofoam, and then I'm going to be measuring and cutting the plywood. That's probably all I'll get done today. And then tomorrow I'll probably work on adding fiberglass resin to the plywood, just to help encase it so that it's more waterproof than plywood is on its own. So let's see how that goes. Yesterday I got all of the styrofoam cut, so today I'm going to be putting the styrofoam in between the ribs for the subfloor. Then I'm going to make sure the plywood floors fit before I seal them in fiberglass resin, just in case I need to either sand the edges more or trim a little bit off. Just want to make sure everything fits nicely first before I go on to the fiberglass resin. And then doing the fiberglass resin is going to be the main task for today. So I ran out of daylight yesterday, so I had to finish cutting up the plywood today. So I've finished cutting the plywood for the boat floor and for the decking. Now I just need to cut little notches out of the corners just to allow room for the aluminum ribs that are in each corner of where the floor is going to go. So it's just a little 1 inch by 1 inch notch I have to make in each corner of the boards here. And then the main task of today is just going to be adding fiberglass resin to just the 2 floor pieces. So I've got the 2 floor pieces set up here with plenty of room to work around them. So I'm just going to be completely soaking them in fiberglass resin. I might end up doing 2 or 3 coats of it. So that's just to help seal the wood against water. So that's going to be the main task for today. So then I'm just going to leave them dry overnight, and then maybe I'll do another coat tomorrow. And then depending how many coats I do, I'm just going to do 1 coat each day. Again, I'm not in a huge rush. And then once I'm happy with the final product, I'm going to sand it and paint it with oil-based paint. So I'm about 1 week into my John boat floor build, and I'm doing one of my favorite steps today, which is going to be putting the carpet onto the plywood floor. So there's one of the pieces that's going to be for the floor between the middle bench and the back bench. So what I did with that is it's 1/2 inch plywood, and I sealed it with fiberglass resin. And in between coats, I would sand it down with 150 grit sandpaper and then apply another coat of fiberglass resin. So I did 2 coats of fiberglass resin. The first coat took 48 hours to dry, and the second coat was like 12 minutes. I ended up losing 1/2 a can of fiberglass resin because it cured so fast. But once I had the fiberglass resin done, I did 3 coats of an oil-based paint. It's a gloss gray color. I did oil-based paint because it has some water-resistant properties. So now that the piece of wood has been sealed twice with fiberglass resin and 3 coats of paint, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be cutting the carpet. I'm going to be applying some carpet adhesive to the wood, and then trimming the carpet to fit around the perimeter perfectly. And then maybe there'll be like 3 inches overhanging so I can staple it to the back side of the plywood. But after today, I should be done with the 2 sections of boat floor. The piece between the back seat and the middle seat, and then the piece of the floor between the middle seat and the front seat. So those 2 will be done. And then starting tomorrow, I can start working on the 2x2 framing and adding the actual deck to the boat. So I'm excited to finish this step. Like I said, I'm a little over a week in, and a lot of it has just been waiting. I thought I would be doing a lot more work, but like the fiberglass resin takes 24 to 48 hours to cure sometimes. Each coat of paint took about 24 hours. So I would do like half an hour to an hour of work, and then I would just have to wait a whole other day. So it's taking a little longer than planned, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it and learning lots. So what you're gonna see next is me putting the carpet on the floor. The carpet glue that I used was Robert's Indoor-Outdoor Carpet Adhesive. It was $40 from Home Depot. The main reason I chose that was just that it said that it was moisture resistant. So you want that for when you're doing the deck. When you're spreading the carpet adhesive, you want to use an adhesive spreader. These plastic things are only like $1 or $2 anywhere you go, like Home Depot, Canadian Tire, stuff like that. And when you're adding the carpet adhesive to the deck and the flooring, you want to make sure that you go right to the edge, because the edge is the spot where the carpet is going to want to either like bubble up or just be loose. You want to have really tight edges, so make sure you get the adhesive all the way to the very edge. And then you're also going to be doing the sides as well, so that the carpet attaches to there. And then you're also going to be adding adhesive to the back where you're going to be stapling the carpet to, which you'll see in a minute here. But yeah, you just want to make sure that you're getting nice, even application of the adhesive, and you don't want too much or too little, but just make sure you go right to those edges there. With these adhesive spreaders, I found the smaller one, I think it was a 2-inch one, was a lot easier to work with. I have the bigger one that I'm using right now, and it was hard to fit it into the bucket, and it didn't spread the adhesive as evenly. I mainly just used the big one to glob on big amounts of the adhesive, and then we used the smaller one to smooth it all out and make it look nice and even. But the big one did work better on the edges. As you can see, I'm doing the very edges. And yeah, you just want to make sure that there's adhesive anywhere that the carpet is touching. That way it's more likely to last rather than it peeling off or coming off. You really want that carpet stuck on there good. I don't think staples alone are enough. Once you have the adhesive on the top side of the floor and all 4 edges, you just want to do a little dance to make sure it gets on there nice and good. You want to add some weight just to make sure that it sticks down properly. And then you want to add adhesive to the edges. So fold your carpet over to see how far you need to apply the adhesive. But I just find staples alone isn't going to do a good enough job. You want to make sure that you're giving it the best chance of sticking down. You don't want your carpet rolling up, in a year or 2 from the weather and the use and having to redo it. So like I said, you just want to fold the carpet over to see how far onto the back of the deck it goes. And then you want to spread adhesive nice and evenly all along each edge. I do it one at a time. That way you don't have adhesive everywhere. So once we staple this down, then we'll do the next edge after that. So here's what the edge looks like. As you can see, I have the very edge of the wood done as well, and the back. So that way the carpet is sticking everywhere. Make sure you look up what size staples you need for your staple gun, but the most important thing after that is that they are stainless steel. So you can see right on top, they say corrosion resistant. You want to make sure that those aren't rusting out and again, having to redo it. Once you've applied the carpet adhesive to one of the backside edges, then I found this way easier with 2 people rather than trying to do it myself. One person can pull the carpet tight because you want it as tight or taut as possible. That way there's no bubbles or the carpet doesn't bunch up anywhere. And then I did staples about maybe every 4 inches or so. I wasn't scared to use too many staples because again, I really just want this carpet as tight as possible. That way it's not coming loose and there's less of a risk of it coming off. And I stapled about 1 inch from the edge of the carpet there. So the carpet adhesive went all the way almost to the edge of the carpet that rolls over there. And I left about 2 or 3 inches of carpet to roll over just so there was room for staples and glue. Again, just having that second person use the pliers so that they keep the carpet taut. I tried doing it myself, but I was just having no luck. And then the staple gun that I'm using, it has like an automatic mode. So that's why the stapling action might look a little bit weird, is because I pull the trigger first so that it's locked, and then I just release a button, and that's how the automatic mode works. So that just made it a lot easier on my hands. It's in trigger mode, so it goes deeper than I could probably do on my own. So once I did 2 edges of the carpet, I decided to roll it out. You can use a baseball bat or anything round. I just used this bit of PVC pipe that I had. Again, I'm just trying to get rid of any bubbles or bumps and just get that carpet as tight as absolutely possible. This is another thing I learned from Anthony Jones. I feel like I learned the most from watching his John Boat build videos, is the corners are super important. So what you do when the corner bunches up is you cut towards you with an X-Acto knife or a utility knife. And then once you get near the end of it, you go straight up. So it leaves that little strip of fabric there. And then I really just wanted to make sure that these corners weren't overlapping, because they're going to be sitting on framing. I need them all to be sitting evenly. I can't have carpet doubled over on itself and making the corners higher. So I'm just making these little incisions to get rid of those small strips of carpet, just to make sure that they're not doubling up on themselves. Because when I pull that extra piece of fabric tight, that's already going to be adding a second layer. So if the 2 pieces were overlapping, it would basically be like 3 layers of carpet. Again, super, super handy to have an extra person here holding the pliers and the extra piece of fabric tight. And then I usually put 1 staple in the middle first, just to kind of keep it from moving. So she's pulling as hard as she can to keep it tight. So I've got 1 staple in there now. I put another staple towards the edge there. And then I put 1 staple on each side of where that little piece of fabric is. So it's holding the left piece of carpet and the strip down. And then here it's holding the strip down and the right piece of carpet. And then I put 1 more staple here at the edge. So basically 3 staples down the middle and then 1 on each corner to hold that little strip of fabric down, and then cut off any piece of fabric just to make sure it lines up nicely with the corners. You want to make sure that you take time and effort on the corners, because that's a spot where the carpet's going to roll up. As you can see there, it looks nice and flush and kind of blends in with the rest of the carpet. All right, so this is probably the most exciting part of the boat build so far. I've got 1 section of floor ready, and today I'm just going to be putting it into the boat and making sure that it fits. So this took a lot of hard work, but it's starting to look really great, and I'm glad I spent a little bit more money than planned and put a little bit more time into it. I think the results more than make up for the time and the money. I'm hoping this will last me quite a few years. It's got 2 layers of fiberglass resin. It's got 3 coats of oil-based paint. And then I've got outdoor carpet with outdoor carpet adhesive. So it looks amazing. And now let's just hope that it fits. It's pretty much almost perfect. And I'm sure once I step on it, wow, that looks great. Section number 1 of the boat floor. I think this side looks even tighter. So yesterday I finished carpeting the second piece of the boat floor, which is the final piece. I did a section between the back bench and the middle bench. So I carpeted that 2 days ago, let it dry for 24 hours and put it in yesterday. And then yesterday I carpeted the second piece for between the middle bench and the front bench, and just let that dry for 24 hours. So I'm going to be putting that piece in today. So as of today, the boat floor is pretty much finished. If I want to add a few little extra things, I might do that, but I would say it's 99% done. So really excited to at least have the boat floor done. And then I think the hard part will start after that. I have to figure out how I want to frame it and actually build the deck off of that from the middle seat all the way to the front of the boat. So that's going to be what I'm going to be working on probably for the next week or so. And then I'm going to have to fiberglass resin the deck, as well as paint it with 3 coats of paint and carpet that as well. So I assume it's going to take at least another week, week and a half, because just the boat floor itself took me just over a week. But still really excited how it's coming along. I'm taking my time. I'm using good quality materials and tools just to make sure that I do a really good job, because I want this to last me a few years. I don't want to just half-ass it and have to do this every year. So yeah, I'm going to put this piece into the boat right now and see how it looks. So it looks really good. Again, it's nice and snug. Not much of a gap. Haven't decided what I want to do here at the front yet. So the boat really starts to curve up. So that's why I didn't want to put the floor all the way to here. Just because there's a big curve, and even this rib here is a bit elevated compared to the other 2 ribs here. So I figured I should stop it where it rests on this rib rather than going past it and having a portion that wants to like curve up. So pretty happy with how that looks as well. So the floor is done. It's pretty nice to me. I'm very pleased with it. I don't think I would do anything differently. Everything went smooth. Took a little longer than I thought just because of all the drying time between coats of paint and fiberglass resin, but the result I'm very, very pleased with. Hopefully you guys enjoyed part 1 of the John boat build, which was me putting the floor in the John boat. As I mentioned, one mistake I did make was buying the wrong type of styrofoam for the bottom. The reason that happened was because of the lockdown due to COVID, I wasn't able to go into a Home Depot and I had to order online, and I ordered the wrong type. You want to get a closed cell styrofoam, so when you cut it, it's a nice smooth edge. You don't want to get the stuff that I got, which is like the white crumbly kind. So every cut I was making, the white like popcorn type stuff was just crumbling everywhere. It was all over the bottom of the boat. So make sure that you get the closed cell stuff so that it doesn't absorb as much moisture or make as much of a mess. Hopefully you learned something from that video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to like and subscribe, as that helps me out a lot. And make sure that you stay tuned for part 2, which is going to be me doing the framing and adding the deck onto the boat and then revealing the final project. So stay tuned and hope you enjoy it.